Story 1, First World Country. Not dying of starvation. Free hospitals. A job I don't like but isn't dangerous. Enough money to live comfortably. Vacations once or twice a year. A Nintendo in my living room? I'm living the dream compared to a good 70%. Count your blessings. There are so many. Story 2. I could have been born into poverty or in a country with no freedom. I could have been born with severe disabilities or no parents to call my own. However, I got lucky, and none of those things apply to me. Sometimes it's just as important to be thankful for the things you do not have, as it is to be thankful for those you do have. Story 3. I survived 2 terminal illnesses, have a lovely wife who loves me and adores my whole being. We have 2 stable, high-paying jobs in a very stable industry, and I get to spend each day with my best friend forever. I consider myself the luckiest person on earth from my point of view. Story 4. Probably the top 2%. I have a loving family, am well-educated, healthy, make a good living, and have a handful of real friends I can always count on and vice versa. I also have a cute, snuggly cat. Yet, I still find something to complain about every now and then. Story 5. I am living in the top 5% of history. That said, I lack a number of things that the 95% have at the same time. The paradox of the modern world is that I am materially rich but spiritually void. Story 6. I genuinely think I'm the luckiest man in the world. I work remotely at a well-paid engineering job. I've worked it to a point where I have a great balance for my workload. I love camping and hiking, so I moved to Colorado, bought a truck, and have been playing in the woods to my heart's content. I've met a wonderful woman who has the same love of nature that I do and loves taking weekend trips with me. I've still got great friends from my hometown, but am also developing friendships here in Colorado. The worst luck going for me is torn cartilage in my shoulder. Years of physical therapy and caution have gotten me to a point of 90 to 95% stability, and the injury is basically not impacting my life anymore. In short, I do everything I want and nothing I don't. Life is good at present. Story 7. Oh, we only get to consider living people. I would prefer to live far in the future when all of our current problems are solved. As Chuck Palahniuk said, we are the middle children of history. Story 8. Living in a country without life-threatening natural disasters, free healthcare or highly subsidized, low crime rate, no guns, affordable food, no mortgage, fast internet, healthy mind. Story 9. I am a 64-year-old female, chubby, smoker. Brain is still intact. All the limbs work with minimal aches. I have friends and family several years younger who have had cancer, bypass surgeries, walk with assistance devices, or have colostomy bags. All but one of my best friends from my teen years have died. I walk everywhere I am able to. I have healthy kids and grandkids, and I am married to a man I have been with since 1977. On the whole, and considering a few glitches along the way, I feel pretty fortunate. Story 10. Superpower Nation. Attended highly ranked colleges with no debt. Got my Doctor of Philosophy in my mid-20s. First job started less than a month after graduating, making 6 figures. Had home internet growing up, albeit dial-up. In the grand scheme, immensely lucky. Oh, and I got a Happy Meal last week and got the toy I wanted on the first try. Sanrio Yu-Gi-Oh crossover. Mimi White dressed as the Dark Magician Girl. Dreams do come true. Story 11. Pretty lucky. I am a woman in a first world country. Make enough money to live on my own in a nice apartment and afford whatever I need. And also have a job I find fulfilling. I have a very supportive family who would help me with anything. I have a relatively healthy body. I am definitely not rich by anybody's standards, but considering the hardships many people are born into, I have been very, very lucky. Story 12. Top 1% at least. God has been good to me more than I deserve. Thank you for asking this question and making me stop and think. Story 13. Good health. Net worth over $1 million in a job I like. On the glide path to retirement in 2 years and 10 months. And, literally 15 minutes ago, accepted a job offer that gives me a nice salary hike, a bonus, and far more interesting assignments. By the way, 23 years ago, we were stone broke and barely able to pay the mortgage. 34-year marriage to a woman I love. She creates life, beauty, and love wherever she goes. 3 great kids who are smart, funny, hardworking, and making their own way in the world. Plenty of friends. Plenty of outside interests. Now, if my favorite college football team could stop messing up on Saturday afternoons, my life would be absolutely perfect. Squarely in the top 1%. And I am grateful every single day of my life. Knock on wood. Story 14. I consider myself very lucky. Compared to 8 billion people, having access to basic needs, opportunities, and safety puts me in a privileged position that many do not have. Story 15. Thanks for this. I was feeling pretty down about everything, and this put things into perspective. I can't lie and say I'm not a very, very fortunate person with love, shelter, water, food, a bit of spending money, and friends. Story 16. Medellin. Colombian. Only lacks a sense of security. Going with the right people and knowing how to behave is solvable. Has everything else. Family has a small company. The city seems gay-friendly. Rights exist, but not so much applied. Maybe 70% top. Better than most of Africa, the Middle East, Russia, China, and India. Story 17. Honestly, top 1%. American with a master's degree, employed, have my health, supportive family, supportive husband, living in a nice neighborhood, and never have to worry about food, shelter, or safety. This felt good to write out after a bad day at work and feeling empty. Thanks. Story 18. Beyond the white male living in a nice half-rural, half-city area in the United States. Maybe a 5 or a 6. I get free food all the time. Sometimes I win stuff. But my house is always broken. It's a fair balance, I guess. Story 19. Democratic country, middling power but slipping, healthy kids, own home, slightly dangerous job, 40-ish. Top 10% can do what I like within reason but not yacht rich. Story 20. Well, I had the extremely unlikely chance of incarnating as a human to begin with when there are trillions upon trillions of other life forms here. Pretty lucky being something with intellect, if you ask me. Story 21. I feel incredibly fortunate. I have a wonderful long-term relationship, great health, good metabolism, no seasonal allergies, the skills to produce and preserve my own food and the land to do it. A well-paying remote work job. My husband has tenure so his job is secure too. More assets than debt. A comfortable house with nearly everything I could possibly want in it. Happy pets that get along, great friends, and I'm always the person with the good cannabis. I'm very happy with my life at present, and I wasn't always able to say that. Story 22. Top 1 to 2%. I live in the United States, have a good job that pays pretty well and contributes to society. Above average attractiveness and intelligence. Very few health problems. 2 excellent children that I am very proud of. A stable and happy marriage of over 35 years. Siblings and friends that I am close to and trust. A nice place to live, strong faith in God. Everything seems to go well for me, and people are incredibly kind and helpful to my wife and me all the time. It is amazing. I am happy and content and very grateful. Story 23. If you were born in any highly developed country, you are in the top 11% globally for opportunity and basic security and infrastructure. If you went to college in such a country, you are in about 3.6%. Healthy? Employed? Homeowner? You are in a smaller and smaller slice of the top. Story 24. Somewhere around 20 to 30% if I had to guess. The good. Not hungry, clean drinking water, access to education, good relationship, time to enjoy my hobbies, not involved in war. The bad. Poor, little access to healthcare, chronic migraines, grew up without parents or steady family, encounter some racism in my country. Story 25. Insanely, absurdly lucky. Luckier than 99.99% of people who ever lived. Luckier than probably 98.5% of people living now. And yes, I do manage to spend most of my time complaining. Story 26. Feel truly blessed. I know there are people better off than me, and I know there are people worse off than me. But what I have is mine, and I am eternally grateful for it. Story 27. In terms of circumstances, I'm luckier than 98% of people. I'd say 99%, but my income isn't high enough to be a 1%er. My random number generator luck, on the other hand, story 28. If you are on Reddit right now, you are exceptionally lucky. Also, if you make something like 40,000 United States dollars, you are in the global top 1%. People on Reddit love whining about how terrible everything is when they are living lives billions of people would literally kill to have. Story 29. I make a solid amount. My wife makes a tiny bit more. We bought a house in the United States in 2013. My wife puts 15% into her retirement account, and I put in 10%. We have 2 healthy kids who are exhausting. We are white. Things are pretty good even if they can be exhausting at times. Story 30. Honestly, out of 8 billion people, I feel pretty lucky. I've got access to things like clean water, food, a home, and education, stuff that not everyone has. It makes me appreciate what I've got. Story 31. Citizen of a well-connected Western European country with a stable economy. Have lived in homes with stable access to water, electricity, and heat for my entire life. Access to any necessary health services without pay. Got all degrees and education for free daycare for my child too. Educated, financially secure family background. Have never once been genuinely worried about how to afford necessities. Never once had to deal with war or with realistic worry about immediately impending war. Have never been without shelter, and at this rate, am fairly certain, within reason, I won't ever be. Have had the luxury of traveling to several countries and continents before I was even 20 years old. Stable job with stable income that leaves me with enough energy to study something I'm passionate about. Both myself and all my immediate family and loved ones are generally in good enough health. I've never not had savings as an adult because my parents and grandparents provided a financial safety net. Never had any debt to my name. I dearly love my parents and siblings and maintain close relationships with them. I am outrageously lucky and privileged. Outrageously. Story 32. Was born in a third world country and already had a decent life. Parents work in healthcare, pretty big house with maid, never worry about food or the latest video game that I want. Moved to the United States at 10 years old, and fast forward to now, living in a luxury apartment without needing the help of a roommate or anyone. Chill work from home job, and able to travel anywhere in the world maybe a few times a year. Maybe the upper 25% of the world. I'm not sure if there's a wealth guideline. Story 33. I live in a first world country with access to free healthcare. I am a single 30-year-old with my own home. The mortgage will be paid off before 40 at this rate. I own a car and am in good shape as a result of working out regularly. I have a few close friends and good relationships with most of my family. I'm a top 5% income earner in my area. I have some problems in my life, but I'm far better off than a lot of people in the world, so I'm grateful for what I have. Things ended up far better than I ever expected when it comes to my job and what I earn from that. Story 34. Top 1 billion for sure. Beyond that, hard to say. I'm Canadian, so my placement has been dropping for about 10 years. I'm still having a better time than any non-first world country, but I'd imagine most of Western Europe is having a better time, and at least half of the United States is doing better than me. I'm fairly lucky, but I'm not luckier than the average North Atlantic Treaty Organization country enjoyer, I don't think. I'm on the lower end of middle class. Story 35. I would argue probably top 10% of humanity. Born in Canada, make more than enough to cover my needs plus some extra. No health issues that are crippling. Story 36. Probably around the upper average, with one being the luckiest. I am at around the 2 to 3 billion mark in my opinion. Wealth-wise, I am comfortable enough, but being laid off would hit me hard in about 3 months. Health-wise, I have pretty severe irritable bowel syndrome, but it is treatable and not fatal. Social life-wise, I have probably a solid 10 friends who I communicate with a lot and a wonderful loving wife. Taking it all into account, I might be higher than I think too. A lot of people are richer than me, but do they have good health or a good social group? It's kind of a hard metric to guess considering the countless things that one might consider lucky. Story 37. I wasn't born with any disease. My mother and father were always amazing people, kind and loving to this day. I have great friends, many friendships well over 10 years. I have a great girlfriend and a decent job. Could have been better, but it could have been so much worse. Thank you for this thread. I guess I didn't realize how lucky I am until I started thinking about it. Story 38. Food, water, shelter, electricity, internet, education, healthcare, entertainment, fulfilling work, transport, free time, peace. I don't take it for granted since this isn't the case for the vast majority of people. Story 39. Definitely top half, possibly top 80%, all things considered. White, blonde, straight male in the United States. College educated. Decent income. Married to a woman who makes more than me. About to have a kid with lots of family support and her family nearby and more than willing to help. Biggest challenge right now is the cost of having a kid in this country, but that's not so bad compared to what a lot of others experience. Story 40. Considering I could have been born into starvation or an abusive family or a war-torn country and I wasn't, in spite of how difficult things are now, I'm still pretty lucky, especially on the family front. My parents could never dream of disowning their kids over us being gay or transgender, and that's an absolute blessing nowadays. Story 41. Very fortunate. I was born and raised in South Africa. I have loving parents and siblings. We are surrounded by terrible crime every day, but we're healthy, we have food and resources, and we enjoy every day. If you want to see some of the worst kinds of conditions, look at the poverty and oppression in Angola and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Look at the terror and torture inflicted upon the Palestinian people. Look at the hardships and losses of the Aboriginal and Native American communities.